Hotel and welcome. Comedic legacy today. Comedic legacy today. Life, health, and strength to you all. Comedic legacy today. Hotep. Comedic legacy today.
So today we're going to be discussing that particular document called the Instruction of Amenemope. Now, some of you might see a book on my lap and say, what is that? Does he actually have a Bible on his lap? I know that for those of you who have been watching the show, it may be unusual for you to see me holding a Bible and discussing the Bible on the show, but I think that you'll be quite interested with the fact that it seems that a particular segment of the Bible comes directly from the instructions of Amenemope. So as we discuss this great document that assists you with living a divine life, we're going to also read the particular passages which come from the book of Proverbs, which will assist you with understanding some of their origins and also help you to live a ma'atical life, a life according to the guide, the laws of Ma'at. So we're really pleased to be able to do this particular lecture with you. And I should say that we are prepared to talk extensively about these particular sayings because they, I believe, are well crafted. I think that they, generally, they are created to assist individuals with living the life as, I think some call this person the silent man. What does that mean? In today's society, and also in the New Kingdom, most people believe that there was a focus, perhaps an overemphasis even, on individuals who were go-getters, individuals who were assertive, individuals who were aggressive. And so this particular document seems to go in another direction. It values being humble. It values speaking when you have something that you truly need to say. It, I think, is a very important segment of this Sebayit literature, and I'm going to enjoy talking to you about it, I'm sure.
Well, I know what's also interesting is when we talked about the maxims of Ptahhotep, Ptahhotep was talking to, I guess, what was considered a spiritual son. And in this instance, we have an actual son. We have Amenemope, who is the son of Connacht, who's trying to teach him the way, as his son, how to be a good man, how to live a righteous life.
Well, Amenemope is the son of Connacht.
Excuse me,
so we don't know who he was writing it to. We believe it was to his son. But it's pretty clear that he's writing this once again as an older man to a younger man, to a younger person, assisting them with understanding how to navigate this very challenging world and still live a life according to Ma'at, live a life according to that divine cosmic principle that allows you to be in order with the universe. Now, what does that mean when I say that? Generally, when we talk about the will, the guide, the law of Ma'at, we're talking about that structure which allows the universe to exist. That sounds pretty important, I know. But if you think about it, if you're living according to laws, to a particular law that our ancient Kemetic ancestors believe undergird the entire universe, then all things are available to you. All things are available to you. You are able to access those things which were previously outside of your reach. You're able to do those things that had been previously only designated to those individuals who were divine. Kemetic spirituality, as we've discussed on this show, is truly about accessing the divine portion of your being. You are a divine being. The Kemites did not believe that the divine force was something that was without. It was something that was within. And so this particular segment will help you achieve living a divine life according to Ma'at.
Exactly.
I believe this book was, at least the most complete version of it, which was found, was actually acquired by E.A. Wallace Budge, who many of you who are familiar with ancient Kemetic history and those Egyptologists who have brought forth important information are familiar with Budge. He actually bought the largest version of the instructions of Amenemope directly from a dealer in Waset, that area that we call today Luxor, in around 1888, and doesn't actually give any translation of it for nearly 40 years. And so it's interesting that it sat for so long, yet it now sits as something that is really important. Modern scholars are continually talking about this particular document, which is about 12 feet long and 10 inches high, particularly not only because it is a very good description of morality, of ancient African morality, prior to Greek philosophy, prior to all the other forms of moral thinking and moral standards that many other people are familiar with. But it's also interesting because of its primary source. It seems to be the primary source for a very important segment of the Bible. And so with that, we should begin to describe to you this incredible document called the Maxim, or the Instruction of Amenemope. So Anika is going to read the introduction, and we're going to go through several of them. We don't believe that we'll complete the entire series in this episode. It will probably be multiple episodes, similar to the Maxim of Ptah-hotep. But every single time Anika gets to one of the chapters that seems to directly relate to a segment of the book of Proverbs, we're going to discuss them as well.
Okay. Chapter 4. The hot-headed man in the temple is like a tree grown indoors. Only for a moment does it put forth roots.
Wow, I'm sorry, I interrupted her. I love that description. I interrupted. I love that description. The hot-headed man in the temple is like a tree grown indoors. Only for a moment will it put out roots. Okay, I'm silent. We'll talk about this in a moment. Let's let her continue her reading of this.
It reaches in its end in the carpentry shop. It is floated away far from its place, or fire in its funerary pyre. The truly temperate man sets himself apart. He is like a tree grown in a sunlit field, but it flourishes, it doubles its yield. It stands before its owner. Its fruits is something sweet, its shade is pleasant, and it reaches its end as a statue.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So something moved you.
Beautiful. I think I just found my next Facebook statement. It's beautiful. I know. I hope that doesn't sound very trivial to those. But sometimes I look to say something that hopefully will get even some of my friends to feel that they're on the right path, or even to help them along their path. And I think that line is absolutely profound. The hot-headed man is like a tree grown indoors. Now, what does that mean? That means that if you're looking for a one-to-one comparison, if you're looking to see whether those people who are hot-headed, who are angry, who are vindictive get ahead, you might actually see momentarily that they do get ahead. And you might misunderstand what you're seeing. You might actually say, well, look, this guy lied and he won. He got away with it. This one stole and now they're wealthy. This one here is doing very evil things to people, and look, they've only seen the benefits of it. And everyone else who they have taken from, who they've stolen from, who have lied to, actually can't benefit. And they struggle. But he reminds us that that reckoning is still coming. That this tree is being grown indoors. It's not like the tree that's growing in the shade, that is growing in the field that will yield fruit and give beautiful shade. Keep in mind also that we're talking about the Kemetic people who truly saw great importance in the ability to grow food, even more than other communities, because they lived in an area that was very arid, that was primarily desert. And even today, most people live in a very small patch along the great river that we knew as the Hapi. It's said that only 5% of all the land in Kemet is used. The rest of it is deshret. The rest of it is desert. And so to talk about the importance of a tree as it grows in a field and yields fruit and gives shade, for a person that lives in virtual desert, they truly had an appreciation for this. They truly had an appreciation for it. And so I think that this is beautiful and divine.
Well, I think also the analogy that they're making is, you know, a tree growing indoors will eventually become crowded. And that you'll be so full of the deeds that you've done that were inappropriate or improper that you probably can't even deal with your own truth. You'll constantly be hiding and carrying baggage and not being able to deal with what's going on until it finally explodes, because that tree will bust out of the house. The roots will destroy the floor. It will break through the walls, and you won't be able to hold it in any longer.
She's really getting into it here, folks. I appreciated her analysis of this. I enjoyed that. I really did. Because we know that these trees that grow indoors, they do one of two things. Either they die or they destroy that container which holds them. Either way, it's not like the tree that grows in the field. It's not the painful experience of death or great. And sometimes that painful experience is a good experience. They're the breakthroughs. These are the things that allow us to recognize those things that we're doing that are not appropriate, that are not in ma'at. And
Cognitive
allow
dissonance.
us. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, cognitive dissonance can go either way. You can either do something very different, the appropriate thing, or you can do that which you just don't think that what you're doing is wrong anymore, because psychologically you have to be able to put your actions in line with your beliefs. And so in this instance, we're talking about the ability to recognize that there will be a point where that house has to be destroyed so that you can grow to your full potential. That's really what you're trying to describe here, as it destroys the box that it's in, as it doesn't allow those things. And these things, well, you might say, well, what are those things, Jabari, that you're talking about? I'm talking about, of course, we're talking about people who are living in an arid country. Being indoors is a wondrous thing. So you're not at the great rapacious whim of the sun and of the heat. So being indoors was a beautiful thing. But think about what he's saying here. He's saying even that which shades you momentarily, even that which shades you momentarily can be something that you must overcome. And so these are those defense mechanisms. Those defense mechanisms exist because they work for us at some point or another. They save us, they keep us alive, but they cannot allow us to become our full divine selves. We have to overcome those things. And so once again, you're looking at this room that this tree is in is something that this tree will actually eventually just have to discard. That can be a very painful process. Think about your life as a room and your potential as a tree. How large is your room? And how large is your tree? We have to find a way to allow ourselves to become that which what we should become and no longer stifle our growth. Very, very literally in this sense. And so I truly enjoy that particular chapter. And it's one of those things that I will take with me, and I hope you will at home as well.
Okay. Think you can handle another one?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think I might need to take a break. It's wonderful. I truly enjoy the Sebaid literature, and I hope, folks, that you're also picking up copies of these divine pieces of wisdom. You can imagine that if we believe that we all descended from the divine, that one of the things that you can do that is most divine is go back to the source. Go back to those that were closest to the source and get an inkling of their wisdom. And that inkling will allow you to return to your source. And so I think it's wonderful when we go to these extremely ancient descriptions of how to be divine. Because what we always find is, while they may not be referencing how you text people or your etiquette while you're sending emails, everything that they're saying is still apropos to what we're living in today and the way that we interact with each other. And so pick up a copy of the Instructions of Amenemope as well.
Yeah.